So, I did make an Age of Empires 4 video, but it's safe to say I didn't quite nail it. It wasn't great. It was a little bit rushed and taken up in a bit of the excitement. I really didn't get everything through that I wanted to. But in true British fashion, never apologise, as Boris Johnson says. Just do it better next time. So, this is everything you need to know about Age of Empires 4. Quickly before I get into the video, make sure you check the links out into the description to go into Aniba Games. You can get some great deals on pretty much any game. I mean, Kingdom Comes Limited is £17 and it's like 40 quid on Steam, so it's sort of a no-brainer. All the Total War games, pretty much any Steam games, but not even just Steam games. Any platform, Xbox, PS4, whatever. You can click the links in the description and support the channel. I mean, Mountain Blade, the full collection is like £3 and that's got everything in, so I mean, you might as well. Make sure you go and use code RESONANT to get a 3% discount. Links in the description, and if you register now, which you don't have to, but you can, you also get another euro off it. So that's something you can do if you have the time and want to support the channel. It's in development by Relic Entertainment, of course, the long-lasting devs of Company of Heroes and Dawn of War. They have done their fair share in strategy and historical strategy at that, so it seems like that they're the perfect candidates to take on such a task as our beloved AoE 4. A quote at the Xbox interview about Age of Empires 4 said, "Relic Entertainment love to tie the shoelaces." In other words, they are extremely excited about taking an incredible franchise like Age of Empires and adding their touch to it, creating an amazing experience whilst keeping it true to the source material, not only historically, but in terms of the game series as well. This makes me incredibly excited, as the early Dawn of War games really are something. They were always, back in the day, my fantasy spin-off to Age of Empires. They have proven themselves in the past, so can they do it again in 2020? Now, the game score is one of the most important parts. I mean, listen to this piece of music. Doesn't that just bring you back to nostalgia? Or what about this one? These bits of music were our childhood, the leitmotifs, the music when the goth swarms were coming in, the music when the villagers were just slaughtering lambs. They were all part of the game and they all created the experience. So, they're gonna have something to live up to. And this time the composer is Mikołaj Stroński. He is the long-time composer of The Witcher 3, doing Blood and Wine and things like that. And I don't even think I have to explain what that game is. Playing in the background are a few bits of his work, and I don't know about you, but I can really imagine this music in the background of Age of Empires. Despite the early announcement back in 2017, I know it's worrying when 2017 was almost 3 years ago, the devs said that the game is making great progress in terms of development. There have been a lot of talk about the AoE community's ideas and wishes that have been listened to and taken into account for the up-and-coming game. I mean, since the community is bigger than ever, they might as well. It seems that the definitive edition and remasters of all the other games have done masses for the community and its player base, bringing in new modders, casual players, and competitive players alike, and all ramping up to the release of Age of Empires 4. This isn't even touching on Age of Empires 3 Definitive and Age of Mythology Definitive Edition, which might well come out before the AoE 4 game, and if that does, that's just going to build up the community even more. Of course, we're going to get new factions and units in the new game, but the oldies are making a return, with a new lick of paint, new buffs, and of course, fighting styles and formations. But what can we actually expect, and what is confirmed that we've seen in the new trailer? Well, we have confirmed as units in AoE 4, pikemen, knights, crossbowmen, monks, archers, horse archers, and siege towers. We also have things like trebuchets, battering rams, and you can see some long axemen there in the background racing up to defend their gates, and of course placeable spikes, which is something that we've never seen in an Age of Empires game before. Being able to put these spikes down at your gates or in breaches and walls to defend against mostly cavalry units, giving your archers somewhere to hide behind if needs be. I'm really excited to see all the new features and units that we're going to be able to see in this new game. Of course, there's going to be so many different things. we have only seen two factions, the Britons and the Mongols. The Mongols more focusing on their horse archers and saber cavalry and infantry, whilst of course the British have their long axemen and their crossbowmen with archers. But we've talked about the game itself, but what about the things surrounding the game, which are quite important in gaming these days? Because of course it's all well and good having a great game, but there are many things that can take a great game to an incredible game, or take a great game to a disappointment and an alright scam. And one of these things are microtransactions. But not to worry, Age of Empires have confirmed that microtransactions will not be in the game. Yes, I know it is a sad day when this makes it into a video, where developers have to outright state that they're not going to be scamming players in their up and coming games, but hey ho, I guess that's just the way gaming is going these days. According to PC Gamer, creative director Adam Isgreen said that the microtransactions aren't in the game's future. I quote, "The idea of microtransactions in a real-time strategy game isn't a thing. DLCs, expansions, all of that is going to be what they're going to be exploring." So yeah, basically the same way they have always done it. No microtransactions, but in the future expansions and things will probably be coming out. A lot like the expansions, the Rise of the Rajas, everything that we have seen in the past. But what about the campaign itself for the game? Well, the campaign in Age of Empires 4 will be completely new. This is a weird catchphrase that they keep saying about this campaign, but no specifics have actually been talked about in what they mean by this. But in the recent interview at XO19, it was stated that the campaign is going in a direction like no other Age of Empires game. Now, I'd initially go and speculate that they're going down the route of saying that maybe it's one long winding story like many of the campaigns, so you have a character that you follow and you have side characters and side quests and things like that you have to do. Not sure how that would work in a strategy game like this, but that could be a possibility. Normally they've gone for the Age of Empires trademark, following the famous leaders in different scenarios, but as I said, it's going to be completely new. Saying this though, they've stated that they've chosen the medieval era so they could follow different paths and different famous leaders on their campaigns. So from the description, it sounds like they're going down a similar route to what we've had before, but then they said it's going to be completely new. So it seems like it's a lot of all technical speak, and none of it is actually making much sense at the moment with the information we have. But nonetheless, it seems multiplayer is not going to be their only focus. In what has been a trend, unfortunately, in the last few years of games ditching the single player, and it seems like the multiplayer has been the pure focus because that's what you can make the most money off. But it seems that that is a trend that Relic will not be hopping onto. The game itself will be closer to Age of Empires 2 more than anything else. Of course, it is set in the medieval era, which makes sense, taking inspiration from the period and historically accurate weapons, armor, formations and units, and of course the factions themselves. But it looks like mechanically they're going more towards the Age of Empires 2 feeling as well. I do feel like Age of Empires 2, and of course we can pull in Age of Empires 3 to that, since because mechanically they were pretty similar, that seemed to be the optimum way of making these strategy games. Age of Empires 1 was great, it had amazing ideas, but there are a few mechanics missing. Queuing units, things like that, having waypoint placements and things, having AI pathfinding was a little bit dodgy, having things where the AI would build lumber camps and then they just wait there. Instead of in Age of Empires 2, they'd build a lumber camp and go onto nearby trees. These are small little ease of use things that are really massive to games like this, in making it from a tedious, constant micromanaging game to a actually really fun strategy. So these are things that I think they're going to be taking forward and using in Age of Empires 4. Of course, we want them to make improvements. We want them to make these ease of life game improvements and sort of put their own twist on them. Because if it's exactly the same game of Age of Empires 2 with graphics updates, what would be the point of it? But I'm very excited to see what we can look at in the future. Speaking of the future, I'd love to see more information on the factions and the campaign map. Also, a quick look into modding. I'm sure it will be implemented, and of course, since they've learnt from their mistake of a Windows Store exclusive release with the first definitive edition, I'm sure Age of Empires 4 will release on Steam, giving it that workshop to get mods going. Probably no chance of it going on the Epic Games Store exclusively at the start because this is Microsoft, but of course we can't tell until it gets released. But what features would you most likely to hear in the lead up? Leave a comment down below and I will try and get back to you on it. Also, I'll be bringing you any new information that releases, so make sure you stick around the channel for that sort of stuff. But thanks so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like if you haven't already, and until then, I will see you in the next one.